is a Fox News alert. A judge has just denied bond for this guy. You are looking at Kenneth Hinson. He's the 46-year-old South Carolina man who was charged with kidnapping and sexually assaulting 2 South Carolina teens. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Big Story. I'm Julie Banderas. The big story in South Carolina right now. And in just a moment, for the very first time here on The Big Story, we're going to let you hear that complete and chilling hearing. This is we're getting some stunning new details on the so-called dungeon. That's where Hinson allegedly held his 2 captives. Fox News learning there were no air vents in that chamber where the girls were allegedly held, and the teens would have suffocated if they hadn't escaped. We're also hearing Hinson had a fake workbench with cement at the bottom to weigh down the trapdoor and keep those 2 girls stuck inside. For more on this horrifying and sick case, joining me now, South Carolina Attorney General Henry McMaster. Thank you so much for being here today. Bond has been denied. Do you agree with that decision?
Yes, ma'am. This man's dangerous. I think that was a good decision by the judge.
And it's interesting to hear you, the Attorney General of South Carolina, say this man is dangerous. You yourself believe the justice system in your state is flawed. You disagreed with the judge that didn't send Hinson to a rehab program. Why?
Well, I was not in office at the time. That was my predecessor, but my predecessor in the system was trying to keep this man civilly committed where he could be treated, and of course part of that process is for the judge to make a decision as to whether he thinks there's probable cause that he'll do it again. A 5-person committee had reviewed the case when the man got out of jail and said he would likely do it again. A 3-member committee reviewed the case and said he would likely do it again, and so then the prosecutor took that to the judge, and the judge, reviewing the evidence, thought that he would not do it again, so he never got his jury trial to determine whether he would likely to do again. Instead, he was set free. Now, he had already been set free early before. He'd gotten an 18-year sentence for raping a 12-year-old girl at knife point and threatening to kill her back in 1991. And he had a criminal record with other things, trafficking in cocaine and assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature. So the Attorney General at the time and the 2 committees that I mentioned thought that this man was likely to reoffend with a case just like this. But the judge disagreed, and of course he was let out. But the system failed twice. Once was when the man got out of his sentence early. He should have stayed there for the full 18 years, and this would have never happened. He'd still be in jail, and those 2 girls would be happy and having a good time over in Darlington County. But the system failed the second time when we went through the process, and the judge decided there was not evidence based on the psychiatric report and the case file to establish probable cause to keep him in.
All right, so who's to blame here? The judge who actually basically set him loose, or the prosecution who apparently didn't convince this judge that he would offend again? Well,
again, the same evidence was presented 3 times. The evidence was presented to the 5-person committee. They said there's probable cause that he'll do it again. Then the same identical evidence went to the 2nd committee of 3. They said there's probable cause he'll do it again. Then that same identical evidence was presented to the judge along with the psychiatrist's report, and the judge said there's not enough evidence to show that he'll likely to do it again and set him free. I say, of course, looking at the file now, that the judge made a mistake, but judges make mistakes. They make mistakes all the time. This mistake that I say is a mistake, I think most people will agree was a mistake at this point. With 20/20 hindsight, it's clear this man was a predator. The question is, was there evidence at the time that he was a predator? I say the answer was yes. The judge at that time said the answer was no.
This mistake seems unforgivable. We're talking about a violent sex predator. You have over 3,000 in your state. Your sex predators program started in 1998, where that rehabilitation program should apply to guys like this. What's to say that the next judge who's in a case, who's overseeing a case like Hinson, isn't going to make the same mistake? What is South Carolina doing about this so that this never happens again?
Well, there are 2 places that we need to do better. One is we need to get rid of parole and early release and good time and all that, so that when someone is committed to jail for having committed a crime, the people in the courtroom, when the judge issues the sentence, the people in the courtroom ought to be able to mark their calendar right then when that man's going to get out and not have to worry about it till then. If that had happened in this case, this man would still be in jail. But the second thing is we have a fairly good process for keeping these sexual predators in commitment and getting treatment. I don't know if it works. Frankly, I don't know if there's any way to straighten these people out. But some of our judges don't like that system. Some of them say that it's unfair to the people. The psychiatrists don't like it. So we have somewhat of an uphill battle once we get to court.
Well, it's of course unfair to the people. The people living in that town where this sex offender / predator was living had no idea he lived there. Now, in the state of South Carolina, South Carolina, you've got the website. There's the sex offender registry, which anybody can go online. But the police department isn't obligated to announce to the public that a sex predator is living amongst the community, is it?
Well, no. There are no billboards that go up or things like that.
Shouldn't there be?
People. Well, it's on the website, and maybe there's more that can be done. But this man was on the website and had been on there for years. Now, whether people had gone to the website and known about it, I don't know. But I mean, this is a bad situation. This man, number one, he should not even be out of jail yet. He ought to be in jail for 2 more years. But he got out early. That was a mistake. And the second mistake, we say, and it's real clear now, is we say that the judge made a mistake when he said there was not enough evidence to civilly confine him with the Department of Mental Health to receive treatment. It's unfortunate it happened. I hope that all the judges and the psychiatrists that work in this system will take a notice from this and realize that we need to be very vigorous in analyzing these cases and that there are consequences from making these decisions.
And in just 1 minute, we are going to play that tape, that bond hearing. I am told now that Kenneth Hinson was in that bond hearing. His bond, of course, denied. So were the deputies there who basically tracked this man down. You know, this guy was wanted. We made a big deal about it. Anytime a sex offender gets out of police custody, or at least under the watchdog of the violent predator watch list, especially in South Carolina now, we keep our eyes very close on it. This guy practically walked into police's hands. I mean, he was on the loose for a week. He was found less than a mile from his home where he had that dungeon, and one of his relatives gave him up. I mean, this has got to tell you something if the relatives are giving up the sex predators. But before you answer that, I want everyone to listen now. We're going to roll this tape of this bond hearing that happened at 4 p.m. Eastern. Take a listen at this disturbing hearing just moments ago.
We would like to ask Chief Deputy Tom Gainey of the Darden County Sheriff's Department to give the facts.
Chief Gainey?
Will you please, the court, Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
that on Monday evening of this week, it was alleged that this defendant did enter into the residence where the 2 victims were staying. He took one of the victims by force and intimidation out of the residence, carried her into a secret room up under a floor of a shed building he had out back. There he allegedly sexually assaulted her, left her bound with duct tape, went into the residence a second time, took the second victim out, carried her also to the same shed building, to the same secret compartment under the floor, sexually assaulted her and left both victims bound in that particular area, and they exited and put the trap door mechanism back in place and left them in there. Later, Tuesday morning, the 2 victims managed to free themselves and escape from the secret chamber under the floor of the outbuilding and fled through some woods where they were picked up by officers, or by rather a passerby in a vehicle carried to a residence where they call law enforcement. The room itself, we have found no place in it that provided any air supply to the victims while they would have been inside of that compartment.
Thank you, Chief Gainey.
Judge would also like to publish his prior record. In 1983, he was convicted of assault and battery, high aggravated nature. He was sentenced to 18 months. In 1988, he was charged with trafficking cocaine. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 years confinement. In 1991, he was charged with criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. He was convicted of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, this being with a minor 11 to 14 years of age according to the statute, and was sentenced to a period of incarceration of 18 years. He was required to register as a sex offender in South Carolina, and his registration is current.
Anything further from the state?
Nothing from the state, Judge.
The victims advocate? Anything from the victims of that?
The victims, Your Honor, had by choice did not want to be present, but obviously they wanted just the court to know that they obviously have great fear of this man, and their position is they believe he should remain incarcerated. until such time as the proper court jurisdiction deals with all these charges.
Thank you, Chief Rainey. Mr. Lister, I believe you said that bond hearing has been scheduled before the circuit court on Monday.
That's right.
You have the time for that, just know it will be on Monday.
It'll be on Monday.
They're looking at Kenneth Hinson, a speechless Kenneth Hinson with his arms crossed, listening to what he's being accused of. A very serious look on his face after bond was denied. Once again, joining us now, South Carolina Attorney General Henry McMaster. Did you hear all of that? And hearing the disturbing details, it surprises me even more that a judge once actually thought that this man was mentally fit enough to not only get out of jail, but that he would never reoffend.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, and the prosecutor at the time, back in 2000, when the man was getting out of jail after having served only half his time, the prosecutor at the time was vigorously pursuing keeping him civilly confined. And of course, when it got to the judge has to make a decision one way or another, and the judge made what was thought at the time by the prosecutor to be the wrong decision, and now I think probably everybody thinks it was the wrong decision. This is a tragedy. I hope the good thing that'll come out of it is that the psychiatrists that prepare those reports for the judge, and that the judges that review these cases, some of which I remind you, some of them in South Carolina have told us they don't like this procedure.
Okay.
They think it's not fair. Well, I think it's fair. It's fair to the victims, and it's fair to the future victims. And I think we really need to be strong.
Something needs to be done, absolutely. Okay, South Carolina Attorney General Henry McMaster, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is a Fox News alert. We've been showing you these dramatic pictures coming out of Paris, France, the scene of violent clashes, all between students, union workers, and police. The students, thousands of them, taking to the streets, protesting a proposed labor law, starting fires, pelting police with rocks. And just hours ago, the police, well, they struck back. And we continue now with our coverage here. Hello, everyone. Again, this is the big story, and the big story right now happening in Paris. And take a look once again, tear gas and torched cars. The story is rioters and cops kept up a running street battle for a couple of hours just earlier today. And according to some reports, there may be more problems before the night is done. We want to take you live now, live pictures to Paris, where Hugh Schofield is on the phone. He's with GRN. We don't have a live picture, but we do have this video to show you. Global Radio News reporter joins us now. Police must have been prepared for this, knowing that they were not happy about this contract. But were they prepared for what looks like hundreds of thousands of protesters?
Well, they were certainly prepared for hundreds of thousands of protesters, and they also predicted that there would be the possibility of violence at the end of it. I mean, I think we have to be fair to the protesters and point out that during the day, hundreds of thousands marched peacefully through the streets of this country, not just in Paris, but all over. And it was at the end of the Paris demonstration that these clashes broke out, perpetrated for all the sort of dramatic pictures by, groups of maybe 50, 100, 150, probably not much more than that. But I mean, even that, as you can see, was dramatic enough, and they were capable of wreaking a certain degree of devastation.
Absolutely, devastation, and police having to fight back with tear gas as those riots continue. Not over yet. Hugh Schofield, please stand by. We will be right back to you, but first we have to take a break. Continuing coverage of the riots in Paris and bond denied for a sex predator in South Carolina.
The captioning for this program is brought to you by
Flexitol Heel Balm for the relief of rough, dry, and cracked feet. With daily use, it keeps your feet soft, smooth, and beautiful. Prescribe Flexitol for yourself. It works.
Bathroom is still life? How about bathroom as real life? Moen. Buy it for looks. Buy it for life.
Here, the days are warm and soothing, but the nights are Kung Pao. South Beach Diet Kung Pao chicken from Kraft. The right carbs and 32 grams of lean protein for 300 calories. Life is better on the beach.
If there were a store in your town called Peace of Mind, would you pay it a visit? Across America in towns big and small, there is such a place. New York Life. It starts with our values of financial strength, integrity, and humanity, and continues with our agents. So look for us in your town. You may already know our people, and we are confident that peace of mind is why New York Life is the company you keep.
We did it for the clutch players. New beds, new lobbies. Courtyards changed it all for the go-to guys. Deeper mattresses, crisper sheets, wider open spaces with Wi-Fi, easy chairs, and freshly stocked 24-hour markets. All new, all for the players who suit up and take the field.
Courtyard, redesigned by business travelers for business travelers.
Go team.
Harry is a scratcher who keeps getting scratched. Harry, you need the clear solution to a healthier scalp. Maximum Strength Scalpicin with vitamin E. Not a shampoo, Scalpicin works fast to stop unhealthy scratching that can cause scalp damage with the itch medicine dermatologists recommend. Ah, the all-day confidence of a healthy, itch-free scalp. Maximum Strength Scalpicin, the clear solution to a healthier scalp.
The four corners of the world, working in sync. Ricoh Global Document Management, helping the far-reaching enterprise create, share, and think as one. Ricoh.
And this is a Fox News alert. Just getting word from South Carolina, a bond hearing for this man, Kenneth Hinson. He's a convicted sex predator accused of raping two 17-year-old girls after locking him in a dungeon underground and, as police describe it, trying to suffocate them. He apparently went to the girl's house, one of the girls' mobile homes just down the street, grabbed her out of her sleep, dragged her back to the underground dungeon, assaulted her, raped her, then raped a second girl. And now we've got a news conference coming out of South Carolina, the Sheriff's Department out of Darlington. Take a listen.
In Dillon County. And I thought it would be better for us to come over here because the judge is still entertaining bond motions over there. The reason that it was split like that is that in South Carolina, there are certain cases that the bond can be set by magistrates, and other bonds have to be set by circuit court judges. In this case, even though criminal sexual conduct with a minor is certainly a very, very serious case, the magistrate still sets a bond for that, but the bond cannot be set for burglary in the first degree by a magistrate. So a circuit court judge has to set that bond, and that will be done, I assume, Sherry, Monday morning? Yeah, don't you have court Monday?
Yeah, we have court, but we're not sure.
Well, let's just do it. I mean, Judge Baxley is here, right? Let's just, if we go ahead and schedule it, maybe we can call him over Richard and tell him he needs to go and get it over with. So that's why this is bifurcated process. Any questions that y'all have? Any of them?
Now, she denied bond here on these charges. The burglary charges be taken up Monday. Will everything be taken up again Monday, or?
No, only the burglary first degree charge. Now, typically, once the defendant has an attorney appointed, the attorney can come back and revisit bond. They do give them benefit of the doubt. In other words, Judge Baxley on Monday morning or that bond hearing is in a position to go ahead and appoint an attorney to represent him on the spot. She's not able to do that, or she does not do that at this level here. So that will be done Monday. And then once the judge has, the lawyer has a judge appoints an attorney, and the attorney has a chance to talk.
And right there, you're listening to a news conference from South Carolina. Again, Kenneth Hinson, that sex predator accused of raping those two 17-year-old, bond denied. And the Sheriff's Department there in Darlington, South Carolina, very proud to have the sex predator under control. This man accused of raping two 17-year-old girls in a dungeon. Now it just basically comes down to whether he pleads guilty or not guilty. Today was just the bond hearing. That bond was denied. Whether he pleads innocent or not, that will come Monday once he has to get an attorney in order to defend him on that. But once again, that is a news conference coming out of South Carolina. And at the top of the hour, we're going to be talking to the cop who helped capture him. This is interesting. The U.S. Marshal who actually got this guy, and from what police are telling me, he looked like he wanted to be caught. He was tired, exhausted, on the run, hungry, and thirsty. He was caught trying to get water when he went to one of his relatives' homes, and his own relatives turned him in. We're going to keep on top of the story here on The Big Story.
Cosmetic procedures? Why bother? For you, there's Olay Regenerist. Significant skin improvement. Women who use Regenerist may find they've lost interest in cosmetic procedures.
Reports have just come in. More details to come on this breaking story.
Zero % financing is back. From now until March 31st, get 0% financing for 60 months. Plus, make no monthly payments until October on Chrysler minivans and Pacificas, which can save you up to $7,000 on the 5-star safety-rated Town & Country, with exclusive stow-and-go seating and storage, and Chrysler Pacifica, with over 92 cubic feet of cargo space. Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus make no monthly payments until October. Hurry, offer ends March 31st.
I love using this now.
Sending pictures is so much easier. Now, this really rocks.
What a difference Verizon Online DSL makes. Now, for as low as $14.95 a month, you'll get all that speed, so you can really enjoy your computer, camera, and tons of other stuff.
I click,
and I'm online right away. DSL is so fast. I can open and send photos with none of the hassles I had with dial-up.
I'm talking, she's surfing,
And shopping.
and shopping. I can get with a program to get music like the rest of the world.
It costs a lot less than most of those cable companies.
I'm paying $14.95 a month for my Verizon DSL.
That's less than what my slow dial-up costs. Call 1-800-638-5105 to get Verizon Online DSL for as low as $14.95 a month. It's our lowest price ever. That's 1-800-638-5105 for the best value in broadband.
I can't believe I had dial-up for so long on this baby. Bye-bye, dial-up.
I wanted floors like no one else had.
I wanted the most unique floors in the neighborhood.
I'm Bob Vila. To me, a room is more than a place to live. It's an expression of who you are. And nothing makes a room stand out like Bellawood hardwood floors.
Our kids tell everyone who comes over that we have solid Brazilian cherry.
Bellawood floors are 100% solid wood. They're pre-finished and come in over 120 choices.
Well, I saw the Australian cypress and I knew this is it.
Bellawood's finish is 3 times more durable than other brands, and it's backed by a 50-year warranty.
50 years.
For the price of laminate floors at the big home center, I got solid Brazilian cherry.
The price, over 60% less than home centers.
My installer said this is the best wood flooring he's ever used. It went down great. The finish is perfect.
I was thinking about putting an Oriental rug down on my new floor, but this looks so good, I'm going to leave it like it is.
I like Bellawood flooring so much, I put it in my own house. Looking for wood floors as unique as you are? Call or click now for a free Bellawood catalog. Bellawood, now on sale at Lumber Liquidators.
2 days, Andrea Yates faces retrial in the drowning deaths of her 5 children. But today, her former husband, Rusty, well, he's tying the knot. He's marrying a woman he met at church. And although he's moving on, Rusty continues to stand by his ex. Andrea Yates has again pleaded innocent by reason of insanity. And the main thing missing from the much-rumored wedding between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, the bride and groom. Lake Como, Italy, the favorite getaway for the rich and famous, home to George Clooney's famous villa on the lake, now inundated with paparazzi from across the globe, all hoping to catch a glimpse of Brangelina. I can't believe we call him that. Tom O'Neill, senior editor for In Touch Weekly and a columnist for GoldDerby.com, joins us. Rumors and rumors and rumors. I personally couldn't care less if these two got married. But hey, you know what? People want to know. Are they getting married? What's going on?
They're getting married, but...
This weekend in Italy?
Well, it's a fascinating mystery because we know that Brad is nearby. He was seen yesterday flying in Saint-Tropez. We know that the local mayor was tipped off by officials, probably of George Clooney's. The mayor said that she was told that they wanted to get married on their boat, the city's boat. Now, this sounds pretty official. We do know that there was extra security at Clooney's mansion there.
Right.
We do know that there was all this activity in the party room at the local hotel, but there were no guests booked at the hotel, no extra guests.
So are they all sleeping at Clooney's house?
If maybe they don't exist. Clooney, we know, is in New York this weekend. His reps, he's filming right now.
Really?
And his rep said he is not going to be in Italy this weekend. So who do you believe?
Do you think people are so fascinated by this because of the fact that, you know, the girl next door, the wholesome girl that America just loves to love, Jennifer Aniston, was basically, I don't know, I mean, was she kind of dumped by this guy?
Dumped.
And now he goes and now there's rumors that they're getting married. She's pregnant with his baby. I mean, I don't know. The only reason I'm really interested in this is because I just think that men like Brad Pitt have got to go. It's the only reason. I feel bad for women like Jennifer Aniston.
This still is a Jennifer Aniston story.
Yeah, I think people are more concerned about how
Yes.
she's feeling right now, and they really don't care about how Brangelina is
But
doing
these are
right
two
now.
bad kids, you know, Brad
Yeah.
and Angelina. So we still want to know what they're doing.
Bad
If this is a soap
Jelena.
opera, these are the
Let's
bad...
call him Badgelina. Can we call him Badgelina
we
instead?
could, but
Okay.
this wedding can still go on. It may very well be the Clooney's...
Do you think it's going to last if they get married? Just final
Celebrity
answer.
weddings never do.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But, you know, then again, you know, J-Lo just keeps, you know, getting married, and she's pretty much happy, at least it seems. But who
Seems
knows?
to be for now, yeah.
Yeah. What was that?
Mark
Jen and
Anthony.
Ben? Yeah, no, but the Jen and Ben thing, that was another Brangelina spinoff. All right, well, thank you so much, Tim, for talking. Tom, rather, I apologize for coming in talking to us about Brangelina.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
The city of light becomes the city of rage. Fires, tear gas, dozens of arrests. We're watching Paris tonight after thousands of students and union workers get in on an all-out battle with riot police. Plus, we told you what a judge ruled on a convicted child rapist at the start of this show. He's accused of brutally attacking 2 young girls in his homemade underground dungeon. You know, as bad as that sounds, in 2 minutes, we're going to have new details you don't want to miss on how this story could have turned out to be much worse, believe it or not. Stay tuned to the big story.
Say something. I don't understand. You want me to get up and say something? Unbelievable.
So I find that if you just really...
Mr. Shyamalan, I love your movies. I've seen every single one of them. Like in The Sixth Sense when the woman runs by the bathroom really
My life is about finding time to dream.
The Village, when, first of all, I love everyone's shoes.
That's why my card is American Express.
Break it. Drizzle it. Dunk it. Crave it. The wait is over. Lobster Fest is back. Red Lobster's annual celebration is going on now. Taste new combinations like succulent Maine and rock lobster tails, or irresistible lobster with snow crab, or indulge in a bowl of creamy lobster bisque. Your favorite lobster dishes right now during Lobster Fest, only at Red Lobster.
Good morning, Gary. I'm Jim's new Verizon wireless razor phone, and I am so thin and awesome. I come with VCast, so Jim can download music videos and movie trailers and sports clips.
I get it. Jim's cool.
Thank you.
There's the Razor, then there's the VCast Razor. Verizon Wireless has the latest in entertainment on the coolest phone. Buy one for $99, get a second one free.
Where's your phone?
My phone's at home.
Because it's lame.
Verizon Wireless, it's the network.
The world goes dark. I see shapes and colors, and I know I'm hooked forever.
Kyle Miller is under the influence of John, his volunteer photography teacher. Spending 1 day a month with kids like Kyle, John helps them develop interests that keep them away from drugs. Nice.
Looks great.
Be a coach, a mentor, a volunteer, because you have something to offer.
Why do I have to go through so many steps to test my blood sugar?
Why do I have to fumble with all those tiny strips every time I test?
With the 10-test disc and no coding required, the Breeze Meter from Bayer makes the process of testing your blood much easier. It's the one-step way to eliminate the struggle with small individual test strips, so there are no hassles, no fumbling with tiny strips, and no more questions.
Why didn't anyone think of this before?
Easy accuracy. Answered by Bayer.
This is a Fox News alert. He is a convicted sex predator who police say plotted and planned 6 kidnappings that ended in rape. And in 2000, a judge ordered Kenneth Hinson be let loose after saying he didn't see probable cause that Hinson would likely reoffend. But at a hearing just a short time ago, bond was denied for Hinson. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Banderas. This is the big story. We take you now to South Carolina. Up until yesterday afternoon, it was the scene of a major manhunt. Fox's Caroline Shively joins us now live from Darlington County. Hi, Caroline.
Hi there, Julie. Kenneth Hinson just appeared before a judge in that bond hearing to hear all of the charges against him read in open court. Those charges include kidnapping, sexual assault, burglary, and assault and battery with intent to kill. The convicted sex offender stood with his arms crossed, wearing handcuffs, an orange prison uniform, and flip-flops. When he was asked if he wanted an attorney, he told the judge he'd been asking for one since he was captured yesterday. Police say he kidnapped and raped 2 17-year-old girls, tied them up, and left them in a secret bunker under his backyard shed to suffocate Monday night, leaving a weighted bench on top of the trap door that led to them. But those girls escaped the shed and ran for help Tuesday morning. Hinson was on the loose until last night when authorities found him less than a mile away from his home. Some here in South Carolina say Hinson shouldn't have even been out on the streets because he's a proven predator. He was convicted in 1991 of raping a 12-year-old girl and sentenced to 20 years in prison, but only served a little over 9 of it. South Carolina has since changed its sentencing guidelines. After he was released, a judge chose not to put him in a rehabilitation program. They'll have another bond hearing on Monday before a circuit judge on the most serious of these charges. That's when he'll be assigned a public defender.
Do we have this much media there, too?
I don't know, sir. I don't have any control over me.
Okay, we through this?
Yes, sir, we are.
The victims in the case had the choice to come to this hearing. They did not. Instead, they sent a message through the sheriff's department asking Hinson not be released on bond because they are afraid of him. Those victims got their wish. Hinson remains behind bars at this hour, and he could spend the rest of his life in prison if convicted. Reporting live in Darlington County, South Carolina, I'm Caroline Shively. Julie, back to you.
Caroline, thank you. Now we search our Fox facts for you. Circuit judges have routinely stopped violent sex offenders from being committed to a treatment program. Listen to this. Since the South Carolina Sexually Violent Predator Program began in 1998, judges have reportedly rejected at least 86% of the offenders recommended for this program. Kenneth Hinson was just one of them. He is only serving roughly about half of an 18-year sentence. He gets out after just 9 years. He sexually assaulted a 12-year-old girl back in 1991, and he has got quite a criminal rap sheet. We're going to stay with this story now and talk with one of the men involved in the search for Kenneth Hinson. My guest is Deputy Marshal Tim Steck with the U.S. Marshal Service. Congratulations to you and your men for nabbing this guy before he hurt anyone else.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I got to give a lot of credit to Darlington County and SLED. We work close with them every day, and it worked out well for us this time. We were actually all 3 agencies were on the scene when we actually finally did apprehend him.
You know, it's as if Hinson wanted to get caught. We're talking about a wanted man. He practically walks right into your hands. Tell me what happened when you found him.
I'm not convinced that he wanted to get caught. He was so close to a lot of law enforcement people, I think probably for a day or two, and he could have walked up and turned himself in if he wanted to. I think he just got thirsty.
One of the deputy police chiefs, though, actually told us when we were down there covering the story that he was so exhausted, he didn't put up a fight. He was armed, but he didn't put up a fight. He almost seemed like he just wanted to give in. He was tired of running, and he's just exhausted and, like you said, thirsty, where he went to his relative's home to get some water.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt he was tired and exhausted, but at the same time, if he had desired to turn himself in, he could have done so pretty much at any time over the 3 days we were there. I think the main thing that got him was just the element of surprise. We had so many people around him so quickly that he didn't have a choice.
What do you say about your violent sex predator program that started in 1998? There are many, in fact, thousands, more than 3,000 individuals recommended for this program. Several panels recommended Kenneth Hinson be put in this program, but no thanks to a judge, he wasn't put in the program, and he basically served less than half of his prison time.
Oh, I can't really speak to the sex offender program here in South Carolina. I can tell you that as a Deputy United States Marshal and the Marshal Service, we adopt a lot of criminal sexual conduct cases from local counties and city agencies as well, and we do our best to find them. There are a lot of them out there.
Well, don't you think something should be done? If you stumble across this problem so often, it almost seems like too often, and obviously something must be done. And let me just ask your personal opinion, because I understand you're out there just to catch the bad guys, but who do you feel is responsible if you were to have to decide? The judge who let him go, or the prosecutors who apparently didn't prove to the judge that he would reoffend?
Well, I'd say ultimately Kenneth Hinson is responsible. Again, I don't want to place any blame on anyone but Kenneth Hinson.
But somebody's got to take responsibility, because guys like Kenneth Hinson don't take responsibility for their actions. So it is up to the law. It's up to the judges. It's up to the prosecutors to make sure.
Well, and what we'll do is, if they do get out, we'll continue to try to find them and do our best to keep as many of them off the street as possible.
All right, well, let's hope so. Deputy Marshal Tim Steck, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Turning to France now, street protests turn violent in the City of Lights. Students and union workers, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, they take to the streets of Paris. They're protesting a proposed employment law. They call it unfair. They set fires, throw rocks at the police officers trying to keep the situation under control. Hugh Schofield with Global Radio News is standing by in Paris. You've watched this mayhem basically unfold. It got pretty rough out there. What are you seeing now?
Well, the main trouble that broke out at a place called Place de la Nation, which is where you've probably seen pictures of the projectiles being thrown, the baton charges, the tear gas and so on. That seems to have quietened down now. That was at the end of this mass demonstration through central Paris. But I understand that now there are new crowds gathering at the Sorbonne, the university, the historic university here in Paris, scene, of course, of the May 1968 student uprising. And there's a tense situation, as I understand it, unfolding down there, with a crowd of about 300 students and other troublemakers joining them, trying to break into the university because it's been closed since the start of this trouble about a week ago.
Let me get this straight. They're lashing out on the government and their president, Jacques Chirac, for coming up with a contract that would essentially help low-income students and give them more jobs. We're talking students here that are protesting. Don't these students want work? What are they so upset about?
Well, it's a very French situation, as you'll appreciate. The government wants to make the labor market more flexible. It's introducing this contract for under 26-year-olds, which makes it easier for employers to hire and fire them. And the aim, as you implied there, is very much towards the bottom end of the market, towards the sort of very poor, especially in the high immigration areas where we saw the riots last November, to encourage employment there. The trouble is it's running into this ingrained opposition in France to changes or anything that will limit the generous levels of protection that already exist here in France on the labor market. They're saying that if they want to get a job, they want to have a permanent job, they don't want to be hired and fired, and that's why they're protesting.
All right, well, Hugh Schofield, keep up the good work. Stay on top of this story. If anything else happens, come back to us. Thanks a lot, Hugh.
Thank you.
Day 3 of Operation Swarmer, a little more violent than the first 2 days. U.S. troops fighting side by side with Iraqi soldiers. They raided a suspected hideout for insurgents north of Baghdad. Fox's Andrew Stack is live in Baghdad now with more on this ferocious gun battle. Andrew?
Well, Julie, this is technically the largest air assault operation since the start of the war, but a lot of people have had a little misunderstanding about that over the past few days. Air assault refers to the type of military units that are engaging in this battle. So typically they're brought in by helicopter, many rappelling down ropes. But of course in Fallujah there was a greater number of soldiers. Now the main thing here that you need to keep in mind is this battle is being led by Iraqi troops. This is essentially a live training exercise for them so they can get more experience on the battlefield, which also explains why they've encountered relatively little resistance so far. Joint U.S. and Iraqi patrols have rounded up 60 suspected insurgents so far, and more than a dozen weapons caches, including a large amount of explosive used in the making of roadside bombs, the #1 killer of U.S. troops in Iraq. U.S. commanders say 17 of the suspects they've rounded up have been released after questioning. Meanwhile, it looks like the 700 extra U.S. troops brought in to protect Iraq's sacred mosques during Ashura are needed after all. Shiite pilgrims making their way to a religious festival in Karbala are facing a series of drive-by shootings and bombings. There were three people killed today when gunmen in a car opened fire on them. A short time later, a bomb detonated on a minibus, killing 2 more people in a Shiite district in Baghdad, and a roadside bomb also went off in a crowd of Shiite pilgrims south of the capital, killing 1 more and wounding 5 others there. In response, U.S. and Iraqi forces are increasing their security on the main road from Baghdad to Karbala. Now, on an up note, there is some encouraging news on the political front. Leading politicians here sat in meetings today and say that they've actually reached some common ground for forming a unity government. We should tell you the clock began ticking on that government 2 days ago. Now the parliament has 60 days to select a president and, in turn, a new prime minister. Julie, that's the latest from Baghdad. Back to you.
Andrew Stack, thank you. And we're getting an intense look at the inner workings of al-Qaeda. The U.S. government releasing documents from al-Qaeda recruits. They are clamoring for suicide missions long before the 9/11 attacks. And one of the documents shows the world's most wanted man, 9/11 mastermind, Osama bin Laden, lambasted by his own terror organization. Fox News correspondent Julie Kurtz now with more live from Washington. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Julie. These al-Qaeda documents declassified this week are just part of thousands confiscated in Iraq and Afghanistan by U.S. forces. The pages released so far show that members of al-Qaeda have been willing to question bin Laden's leadership. The director of national intelligence is making the papers public, but the U.S. government warns there is no guarantee of their authenticity. They are, however, quite fascinating. Some of the papers reveal rare criticism, as you mentioned, of bin Laden by his followers. One al-Qaeda recruit writes before 9/11, questioning why suicide attacks have been delayed. In 2002, a different operative writes to urge fighters to ignore bin Laden's push for more attacks. Quote, stop all foreign actions, stop sending people to captivity, stop devising new operations regardless of whether orders come or not from bin Laden. Our adherents have lost confidence in us and in our ability to manage the action, that letter reads. Fox News contributor Major General Bob Scales says the documents reveal UBL's lack of control.
Terrorist insurrection inside their own countries. Many of them believe that provoking the United States is a huge mistake.
The al-Qaeda documents also include several letters from bin Laden. In a 2002 letter, he writes to a Taliban leader about the need to manipulate the media. Quote, it is obvious that the media war in this century is one of the strongest methods of struggle. In fact, its ratio may reach 90% of the total preparation for battles, the letter reads. This selective release of the al-Qaeda documents by the U.S. government, Julie, is expected to continue for months. Back to you.
All right, Julie Kurtz, thank you so much. Coming up on the big story, we are not done yet. We just got word of a tense situation taking shape in Paris right now. The new confrontation possibly coming at the Sorbonne after hours of rioting earlier in the center of Paris. The situation getting ugly. We will bring you the very latest. You can call it a well-armed robbery. 2 crooks holding up a store while holding machine guns. A scary scene, and it's caught on camera. We're going to have that story coming up right here on The Big Story. Stick with us. Don't go away.
The captioning for this program is brought to you by
Flexitol Heel Balm for the relief of rough, dry, and cracked feet. With daily use, it keeps your feet soft, smooth, and beautiful. Prescribe Flexitol for yourself. It works.
Some things men don't want to talk about.
Like prostate problems. But I learned 1 in 3 men will have them. So I switched to One-A-Day Men's.
A complete multivitamin plus lycopene, which Harvard study suggests may help prostate health.
Some things aren't healthy to talk about.
One-A-Day Men's.
Whoa. Hang on. I'm sorry, dude. It's not gonna work out. Esteban.
You know, thousands of youngsters long to express their hearts through the gift of music. Hello, this is Esteban with some exciting news.
You gonna teach Dwayne how to play?
No, I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
the end of the day, all you want is to be comfortable. DoubleTree, a member of the Hilton family of hotels.
Do you believe anything's possible?
I do. I work at Earthlink.
I believe your internet can do more for you.
I believe it can be safe at any speed.
High-speed dial-up wireless, secure, secure, secure. I believe that whatever's next, we'll think of it first.
I work at Earthlink.
And we're making unbelievable things happen.
Every day.
It's time to start believing. Call now and get a great deal on Earthlink High Speed. Earthlink, we revolve around you.
If you have indoor or outdoor allergies, ask your doctor about something different. Singulair. While many allergy medicines block histamine, Singulair works differently by blocking leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. And Singulair is approved to help relieve both indoor and outdoor allergy symptoms for a full 24 hours. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Singulair, a different way to treat indoor and outdoor allergies.
Tonight, after terrorizing a college campus, what he claims gave him a license to kill on Heartland. Then it's live updates on the dungeon rapist. Go inside this twisted case on The Lineup. Plus, Peterson 1 year later. It's a grim look at life on death row on the Big Story Primetime.
We got reports yesterday that Iran apparently wanted to sit down and talk with the U.S. to reportedly see if they could help with the events happening in Iraq right now. But one White House advisor is suggesting that the offer of help may be a sham in cover-up. With us now is Neil Livingstone, terrorism expert and CEO of Global Options. Neil, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Never thought I'd hear the day of Iran and the U.S. getting together to help Iraq. You?
Well, I think you have to doubt Iran's motivations here. They clearly are trying to divert attention away from their nuclear weapons program. And they really want to have it both ways in Iraq itself. They're trying to support their fellow Shiites in the south and at the same time support the Sunni insurgency against the United States. So you really have to take this with a grain of salt.
All right, so these talks are basically just another ploy, I guess, to delay the Security Council action on its nuclear program?
Absolutely. They've learned a lot from North Korea. Remember, North Korea delayed and delayed and delayed and would talk at some point, and then they'd break off talks, and ultimately they were able to get a nuclear weapon because they were able to keep international oversight away for a number of years. And I think that's really what the Iranians are attempting to do right now, while still keeping their hand in Iraq, because they do want some influence in the southern part of the country with their fellow Shiites.
All right. One thing's for sure. I believe I'm reading this correctly, that the U.S. and Iran may agree on one thing here, that the U.S. and Iran can't afford to let Iraq slip into civil war, and the events over there are certainly diminishing by the minute. Are you optimistic that the talks will actually happen, and when they do, that they'll actually get somewhere?
Well, there might be talks. I'm not very optimistic that they'll get somewhere. You have to remember what Iran is supporting the democratic movement in Iraq right now, only because the Shiites are in the majority. And they want a Shiite-dominated Iraq, and that's why they don't want the country to disintegrate.
Okay, so then what happens when the Sunnis jump into this mix?
Well, when the Sunnis jump into this mix, ultimately, look, the Sunnis are behind the...
You got a civil war. I mean, how do you prevent it? Especially with Iran now supporting the armed Shiite militias in Iraq.
Well, I don't think that you prevent it. I think it was the inevitable conclusion of what's been going on for the past 2 years there. First of all, the Kurds are never going to go back under the thumb of Baghdad. They have a quasi-independent state already in the northern part of the country. And the Sunnis in the central part of the country, they feel like the great losers in all of this. And they're going to fight both against the Kurds and against the Shiites and against the United States and try to have some kind of rump state in the center part of the country. I think we're headed for civil war. I think it's inevitable, and I don't see any way that we can avert it right now.
All right, and in fact, the polls agree with you. But Neil Livingstone, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's called RU486, rather. It's better known as the abortion pill. The Big Story told you last month how several mysterious deaths were linked to this pill, and now that death toll may be growing. You got to hear this story. Plus, a new word of warning about spring break, this time from the White House Drug Office. We're going to show you why they are more worried than ever about the fun getting a little too out of hand coming up.
Kings and queens, the potentates of the road. We recognize them by their restless wing-tipped feet. We support them with new, thicker mattresses and lay the freshest fine white linens at their feet, an offering of respect. Our beds, ourselves, courtyards changed it all for them. Rest well, my liege. Rest well.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that's our loan package. Any questions?
Finding the right home loan with the best rate, fee, and terms doesn't have to be difficult. Take control now with a name you can trust. Just call or log on to Ditech.com and trade in your adjustable mortgage for a new low fixed rate loan and get cash for any purpose.
Oh, lost another loan to Ditech.
Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
I know you. You're sitting there with rheumatoid arthritis. This is one of your good days, right? And you're gonna wait. Till when? Till you can't turn on a light? A piece of advice about waiting? Don't. Not when there's Humira. Talk with a rheumatologist today. Humira doesn't just help stop the pain and stiffness. It can even slow the progress of RA. Because just sitting there, your joints could be deteriorating. And when they're gone, they're gone.
Some people with heart failure should not take Humira. Humira can lower your ability to fight infections. So tell your doctor right away if you have ever had tuberculosis or are prone to infection, or if you get an infection. Do not start Humira if you have an infection such as an open sore or the flu. There have been rare reports of serious and sometimes fatal infections and tuberculosis. Blood disorders, nervous system disorders, serious allergic reactions, and lymphoma have occurred.
Do it. Talk with a rheumatologist about Humira.
A cold front collides with warm air over Dallas. A burst of plasma from the sun hits New York. Arid air and a severe drought whip into Sydney.
The damage is going to be tremendous.
The Discovery Channel and leading scientists will show that when the conditions are right, it will all go wrong. Perfect Disaster premieres tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Discovery Channel.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you could use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit. No one can do what Countrywide can. Call now and see if you qualify.
Call 1-800-641-7320.
Senator Russ Feingold so far not finding too much support from his colleagues as he calls for the censure of President Bush. New polls just out from Newsweek finding that a majority of Americans thought Feingold's call for censure was, quote, purely partisan ploy and not done out of principle. Here to talk about it, Martin Frost, a former Democratic Texas congressman, and John Kasich. Good to see you, John, former Republican congressman and host of Fox News Channel's Heartland. John, what's Senator Feingold thinking? He has nobody's support. He doesn't even have Democrat support.
I don't know. I mean, it just was silly. Somebody asked me about it last week when I happened to make one of my visits to Washington, which are rare, but I mean, it's off the wall. It's just, and he's trying to claim that it's a moderate step to avoid impeachment. I mean, they're just whistling past the graveyard. It's silly, and Democrats are smart to reject it, and they need to move on from this if they, this paints them as being too extreme. Feingold is the guy.
Yeah, Congressman Frost, how do you describe this guy? I found a left liberal website calling Feingold a Dem with a spine. Does he have is this guy spineless or what?
Senator Feingold speaks for himself. He doesn't speak for other Democratic senators or congressmen. He's running for president. He managed to get some publicity. What the Democratic leadership should have done would have been to call for an immediate vote on this and then voted against it. Now, there are serious questions about the president's conduct, but the president was acting in good faith, and you can't censure the president for this. There ought to be hearings in Congress about the legality of what the president was doing. There ought to perhaps be a vote on whether the president is required to go to the special court, the FISA court, to seek approval for this. But you don't censure the president over something like this. He was acting in good faith to defend the country. He may be wrong on the law, but Feingold's all by himself on this one.
I know a lot of people... Go ahead, John.
Martin used to be the head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and he was a pretty good one. I mean, he didn't win the House back, but he was a pretty good one. And he's wearing his political hat, and he knows they got to run away from this thing, and that's exactly what he's doing. Martin, you're right.
Look,
you're a
John,
smart guy.
Yeah, Feingold's running for president. People who run for president do all kinds of things in both parties. Some of the folks on your side may do some rather interesting things while they're doing their presidential campaign, too.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, this guy hides it from his own party. I mean, people like to attack the president for not being outright with his plans. Why do you think he purposely decided not to let his Democratic colleagues in on the plan?
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of Democrats who disagree with the president on this and perhaps would like to censure the president in the privacy of their own homes, but I think he knew that if he had told his own leadership if he told his own leadership that they would have figured out and called for an immediate vote. That's what they should have done. They should have said, okay, let's have a vote on this, and all the Democrats vote no.
What would have happened is had he told the Democratic leaders as he was walking out of their offices, they would have tackled him and grabbed the resolution out of his hands. But listen, this is not unusual for Feingold. Feingold is a guy who marches to his own drummer. And but the fact is that I'll bet he's received a lot of encouragement from the far left, and what they have to ask themselves in the Democratic Party, does the left really control the party? Does it really dominate things? And I'll tell you one other thing. This hatred they have for Bush is as counterproductive to the Democrats as the hatred the Republicans had for Clinton. You never get anywhere when you spend your time hating.
Yeah, let me make one point.
Go ahead,
you had Senator Frist embrace the Schiavo matter a few months ago. He's running for president. That was as peculiar as what Feingold's done. So you have people on both sides who see themselves as potential presidents doing things that their colleagues won't necessarily agree with.
All right, Congressman Martin Frost, thank you so much. John Kasich, we're all going to be watching your show tonight. Thank you guys for tuning.
Thank you.
And be sure to catch Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace on your local Fox station tomorrow morning. Democratic Senator Richard Durbin will be Chris's guest. Censuring President Bush over the NSA surveillance program, just one of the topics they'll discuss. And John Kasich at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't want to miss the Heartland. Coming up, convicted predator Kenneth Hinson appears in court where new details about his dungeon are revealed. See why investigators say it is a miracle his teenage victims escaped alive.
The natural condition of our eyes is moist, but sometimes your eyes don't produce enough tears. If you use over-the-counter eye drops or artificial tears several times a day, ask your eye doctor about Restasis.
Because you may have chronic dry eye due to decreased tear production. You can have chronic dry eye without knowing it, like me, and my doctor prescribed Restasis. It's the only eye drop that helps your eyes increase tear production with continued use.
Go to Restasis5.com or call 1-866-379-3935 to get this free information kit. Restasis helps increase your natural ability to produce tears, which may be suppressed by inflammation due to chronic dry eye. It should not be used by patients with active eye infections and has not been studied in patients with a history of herpes viral infections of the eye. The most common side effect is a burning sensation.
One drop, twice a day with continued use, helps me make more of my own tears. My tears. Thanks, Restasis.
Make an appointment with your eye doctor to see if Restasis is right for you.
Hey, you feel like going out? I'm bloated, irregular.
Probably stress from exams. And look how it makes us eat.
So how come you're okay?
I eat Activia every day.
Introducing smooth, delicious Dannon Activia. With the natural culture Bifidus regularis, it's clinically proven to help naturally regulate your digestive system in 2 weeks.
It's good. I feel great.
Help naturally regulate your digestive system in 2 weeks.
Let's get out of here.
Right now, this Dell XPS multimedia powerhouse with Intel Vive technology featuring an Intel dual-core processor and a 19-inch flat panel can be yours for only $9.99. And for a limited time, qualified XPS customers pay no interest for 18 months. XPS, the ultimate Dell PC.
Book the vacation of your dreams. Call your travel agent or 1-800-SANDALS.
Don't you know that I'm loving you? And I got a Vita, baby. Don't you know that I'll always be true?
Need a little flower power? Our retirement specialists can help. Call 1-800-FIDELITY. Smart move.
Hello everyone, I'm Trace Gallagher. 2 U.S. Navy ships battling on the high seas with pirates off the coast of Somalia. The Navy says one of the pirates is dead and 5 others are hurt. Military patrol boats like this one spotted a fishing vessel towing some smaller boats. Then the Navy says the passengers on the fishing boat opened fire as sailors prepared for a routine boarding. Tomorrow marks 3 years since the U.S. invaded Iraq, and President Bush is asking Americans not to let bad news coming out of there make them lose sight of the overwhelming progress that's being made. That was the theme of his weekly radio address. Democrats responding, suggesting the president needs a real plan and not just promises to get Iraq back on its feet. Former Yugoslav leader Slobodan Milosevic buried in Serbia today. Tens of thousands of people showed up in Belgrade and at his birthplace for the event. Milosevic's grave is marked with a marble slab stating simply his name and the dates 1941 to 2006. He died last week while on trial for war crimes, including genocide. Federal authorities, including 5 cabinet secretaries, taking part in a smallpox drill near the White House. The simulated attack taking place at the Eisenhower Executive Office building next to the presidential mansion. The 4-hour exercise meant to single out gaps in readiness plans and fine-tune the government's response. President Bush was not involved in the drill. He is spending the weekend at Camp David. And coming up tonight on the Fox Report, riots raging in Paris. Students violently protesting a new labor law that would allow young people to be fired more easily. Instead of signing on, they are rising up. That's on the Fox Report at 7 Eastern. Now back to the big story with Julie Banderas.
This is a Fox News alert getting in new videotape of new violence erupting at Sorbonne University near Paris. Police are using tear gas, water cannons on protesters. Take a look at the line of police behind that fence. The police trying to protect themselves as they try to get this crowd under control. We've been watching the clashes between students, union workers, and these police armed in riot gear. The students, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, taking to the streets. They're protesting a proposed labor law. They've been setting fires, pelting police with rocks. It's been getting very aggressive and very dangerous for police. And the situation continues there as new riots breaking out at Sorbonne University. Our guest earlier saying that just when they thought it was all over, new riots are flaming up once again. We're going to stay on top of this. This has been a Fox News alert out of Paris, France. And in just the last hour, we got some pretty disturbing new details on the alleged kidnapping and rapes of 2 South Carolina teenagers. At a hearing where a judge denied bond for Kenneth Hinson, police explained how lucky the victims were to escape from a dungeon where they say Hinson was holding them hostage. Joining me now, Charles Tomlinson. He's a reporter with the Morning News in Florence, South Carolina. We met last night, and the situation much different because we were awaiting this bond hearing. What's the word out there on the street? I know a lot of people must be pretty relieved that his bond was denied and he won't be let out.
Yeah, that was the idea I got. I was speaking with some people, residents in his neighborhood last night, and they were obviously relieved that he had been caught. They didn't even know he was a registered sex offender. And
that is the problem there, that they didn't know, and they're very upset about that.
Yeah, and I asked, are they going to check the registry online a lot more often now? And they said definitely they are.
Okay, so... sorry. Go ahead.
No, Okay, no, I was just going to say that the bond was denied, as you have said, and the family, like the chief deputy said today, is in fear of this man, and they wanted the bond to be denied. Now there is going to be another bond hearing. The bond hearing today was before a county magistrate on charges of kidnapping, assault and battery with intent to kill, and criminal sexual conduct with these two 17-year-old girls. But the hearing Monday will be with a circuit court judge over a burglary charge in the same incident.
What are you hearing about these two 17-year-old girls? We don't know their names. They are rape victims, and we haven't heard from them as of yet. He apparently plucked each one of them separately out of their mobile homes just down the street while they were sleeping. What are you hearing about how he went about to do that, get one to his dungeon, allegedly rape her, then go back for the second?
Well, I asked specifically about that, and what I've told is that apparently they were both sleeping, woke one of them up, bound her hands and her mouth with duct tape, and took her to his little secret room behind his house under his shed in the backyard. And the other girl apparently did not wake up when all this was going on, is what the police have told me.
That sounds like an interesting story. I'm sure there's more details that they know that they're not telling us. All right, once again, Charles Tomlinson, thank you for talking to us. Good talking to you.
Thank you.
So Kenneth Hinson denied bond at a hearing just a short time ago. Joining me now for more on the dungeon rapes, criminal defense attorney and Fox News legal analyst Mercedes Colwin, and former prosecutor Nicole DeBoard. Let me start with you, Mercedes. A judge had basically let this guy go. He said that the prosecution didn't do their job in convincing him that this man would reoffend. Who do you point the finger to right now?
Oh, absolutely the prosecutors. They're the ones that have to set forth their case. They're the ones that have to educate the judge in order to make the appropriate decision. And in this case, they did fail to do so. When they made the application to the court, they didn't show enough evidence that this man has a mental defect that would, in effect, he would reoffend in the future. And therefore, he would be another predator out in the streets. Since the prosecutor failed to do so, the judge really had no choice. I mean, the judge has a lot of cases that it has to review. It makes a decision based on what the prosecutors say.
Okay, so Nicole, what did they do wrong? Why didn't they prove to the judge that this man would reoffend?
Well, just because the judge didn't believe what the panel review, a 5-person panel review committee recommended, which is that he be committed, does not mean that they necessarily failed to prove it in other people's eyes. I mean, sex crimes are a crime that has some of the highest recidivism rates or repeat offender rates that you can possibly get. And it's obviously been a bad decision that this man has been released back out on the streets. He is now been found to be carrying a weapon, which is a violation of a federal law. He had obviously been planning this for some time because he's built this room for these people. There's a whole bunch of problems here that raise questions in my mind about why they weren't able to get him back into custody sooner.
Nicole, but look at the dungeon in and of itself. The fact that he created this in order to lure victims in and rape them, that must tell everybody watching this program that he was mentally ill. Even the marshal who went down and saw it was aghast and said, obviously this man has an illness. So it's clear that there was enough evidence to show that he had some sort of mental defect, and the prosecutors failed to demonstrate that.
Well, I don't know that they failed to demonstrate it. It just means that one person failed to agree with it. And, clearly this person doesn't think like the rest of us, or he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. But someone should have been monitoring him while he was on parole, which it sounds like he was.
Well, he did register as a sex offender back in October, though, and we're in March. So he was actually a law-abiding sex predator, as weird as that sentence sounds. So obviously, even if you have to register, it's not good enough. This guy served half of his prison term, which was 18 years. Somebody must be held accountable. And I'm sorry, but Kenneth Hinson, I'm not really pointing the finger at him because he's a sick guy. Somebody in law enforcement needs to take responsibility. Who is it?
And Julie, that's an excellent point. I think legislation has to step up and say to themselves, these are mandatory sentences. If you're going to commit someone to these sentences, then so be it. Forget the good time and everything else. That's a good behavior time that they're released. That's what has to step in, because when you have individuals like this who obviously are mentally ill and being reintroduced in society, the legislation has to step in and start to make changes, and they haven't.
Nicole?
Well, they tried. She's saying that this person is obviously mentally ill. If he's so obviously mentally ill, then why didn't the judge agree to go ahead and have this person committed? That's
somebody made a mistake
mind.
along the line. All I
Right.
know is this guy shouldn't have been out, and obviously the laws need to toughen up. What do you guys think? Just final question here. You know the Jessica's Law in Florida. Do you think that would be tough enough if that had really played a role in this whole thing?
I mean, I certainly think if Jessica's Law had been in, then he would have served more time, and he wouldn't have been out to commit these crimes. So I think that's part of it as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much to both of you, Mercedes Colwin and Nicole DeBoard, for talking about this gruesome case down in South Carolina.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Folks in one Southern California town may have left town if they had to want to light up a cigarette. Calabasas enacting what is most likely the toughest anti-smoking law in the entire country. The town bans smoking at all outdoor public places. That includes sidewalks, parks, and bus stops. You name it. You can smoke in your car as long as you keep the windows rolled up. Public smoking is allowed, though, at designated areas, at malls, and at work. And if you are asked to snuff out the cig, listen to this, you better do it, or you could be slapped with a hefty fine. Spring break is a rite of passage for college students. Well, now it looks like high school kids are getting in on the action. The director of the White House Official of National Drug Control Policy is saying about 1 in 7 spring breakers are 18 or younger, children drinking. He says young people are under enormous peer pressure to have fun. He says parents need to get involved. That's nothing new, since surveys show that students who stay out of trouble do so because they don't want to disappoint mom and dad. And we continue our Fox News coverage here on the big story. New violence breaking out in Paris. New violence erupting at Sorbonne University, where police are using tear gas, water cannons, whatever they have to try to control hundreds of thousands of protesters who have just been running amok in Paris, France, over a labor law. They're lashing out at the government and their president, Jacques Chirac, but it looks like the president is not there. It's those police officers that have to deal with these unruly protesters. We'll stay on top of this story coming out of Paris, France. New riots break out at Sorbonne in Paris. This has been a Fox News Alert. Stay with us right here on the big story, continuing coverage on this story and much, much more straight ahead.
At Stouffer's, our lasagna is America's favorite for what we put in it. And now even more appreciated for what we don't. See what's cooking at Stouffer's.
At the end of the day, all you want is to be comfortable. Doubletree, a member of the Hilton family of hotels.
It's a fact. The more we learn about how to take care of ourselves and our families, the longer and healthier our lives become. That's why more people turn to WebMD than any other health information source. It's a place where people find answers to health questions with an ease never before possible, where doctors discover new and better ways to care for their patients. A place where everyone can finally forge a link between better information and better health. WebMD.
Without strong shoulders, who would support them? One A Day wants you to stay strong for them, because as early as 30, women can start to lose bone mass. That's why there's One A Day Women's, a complete multivitamin that's specially formulated for women, with twice the calcium of Centrum. One A Day Women's. And for the man in your life, there's One A Day Men's, a complete multivitamin with selenium, which emerging research suggests may reduce the risk of prostate cancer. One A Day Men's.
Good morning, Gary. I'm Jim's new Verizon wireless razor phone, and I am so thin and awesome. I come with VCast, so Jim can download music videos and movie trailers and sports clips.
I get it. Jim's cool.
Thank you.
There's the Razor, then there's the VCast Razor. Verizon Wireless has the latest in entertainment on the coolest phone. Buy one for $99, get a second one free.
Where's your phone?
My phone's at home.
Because he's lame.
Verizon Wireless, it's the network.
It's funny how you make decisions. Some decisions are easy,
and some need a little help. So where do you turn for help when it comes to choosing your insurance agent? How do you decide who's going to help protect everything that's important to you? Don't leave that decision to chance. Look for a Trusted Choice agent. Trusted Choice agents offer you a choice of insurance companies.
Tonight, after terrorizing a college campus, what he claims gave him a license to kill on Heartland. Then it's live updates on the dungeon rapist. Go inside this twisted case on The Lineup. Plus, Peterson 1 year later. It's a grim look at life on death row on the Big Story Primetime.
This is a Fox News alert. New violence breaking out in Paris. Take a look at those massive water cannons that police there at Sorbonne University in Paris are using to try to disperse these angry crowds. Protesters there for weeks. Sorbonne University is essentially the ground zero of where this all happens. Protests have been going on for a couple weeks now. Them angry at the government, angry at their president, taking it out on police as they shoot back with water cannons, using tear gas, anything they can do to control this angry crowd in Paris, France. This has been a Fox News alert. It's a case some legal scholars are calling Roe versus Wade for men. Listen to this. A Michigan man says his girlfriend tricked him into getting her pregnant. She had a baby. Now she's suing him for child support, but he's suing back. He's saying men have the right to decide whether they become fathers. Joining me once again, criminal defense attorney and Fox News legal analyst Mercedes Colwin and former prosecutor Nicole DeBoard. This is an interesting one, Mercedes.
Oh, absolutely.
Do men have a say, and should they be obligated to pay?
I think so. I mean, I think they have a say because, like Lady Justice, who wears a blindfold, everyone that stands before her is equal. And here's something that says basically a woman's biology becomes a man's destiny, and you just simply cannot do it. It is inherently unfair to men. If a woman chooses to have a child, she has the unfettered right to do so under Roe versus Wade with the limitation of the last term. But men do not have any rights whether she keeps the child, terminates the child, and they should. There are two individuals that created that life, and they should both have the say as to whether that child comes in. Now, I'm not advocating for the murder of fetuses. I want to make that very, very clear. What I am advocating for is that this case permit men to have a say. If they do not want to have anything to do with the child emotionally or physically, then they should have that opportunity.
Okay, but what's to say that the guy's not making it up? And I understand in this case, if she indeed did trick him, then that's certainly not right. But that shouldn't apply to all cases, should it, Nicole?
It shouldn't, and again, I don't understand how exactly there's a trick there. I mean, the question is whether or not you want to be involved in a sexual relationship with a woman, and if you do, there's a responsibility there. The issue here is, and the courts have historically analyzed it this way, is what rights does a woman have over her own body? And a man, quite frankly, under the law, is not going to be permitted to come in and make those decisions for her. He's not going to be allowed to say, you have to undergo a medical procedure and get an abortion.
True. Well, Mercedes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but what about in this situation where he can show through credible evidence that she did trick him? And maybe she, in fact, we even covered a case a couple of months ago where a woman forged a man's signature, obtained the embryos, impregnated herself, and then sued for child support, and the judge ruled in her favor. So there are cases where there are legitimate grounds where the father is saying, I was duped. So there, in those cases, absolutely.
And I get that, but there's also cases out there where a man's right to choose parenthood is basically decided by condom or no condom. So they have the choice, in a sense.
Exactly.
I've heard this all. They say if you play, you pay. I mean, but you have to, if you're going to have the situation arise, I think men should have the right to make that decision. And if they're not able to step in and make the decision, then the courts have to step in and say, we have to introduce some either legislation or cases that's going to establish.
Okay, I hate to say it, but I mean, someday it's going to be very sad that there's a child that's going to grow up and know that his father fought so hard to have nothing to do with him. I'm just afraid that once this case gets passed, that others will follow suit, and then the whole thing is just going to blow up and be taken advantage of. It has that potential, don't you think, Nicole?
Well, first of all, I can tell you that I don't think that it will pass. I don't think that this is going to be a lawsuit that has any success for this gentleman. Fortunately. And, you know, ultimately the question is that question about whether or not the courts are ever going to allow a man to dictate what another adult can do with her body. And that's exactly what he's asking in this case. He's trying to get the courts to say, we want her to have a medical procedure.
Nicole, I think what she's trying to say doesn't want to have anything to do with financially or emotionally with the child. I think you're right. I don't think there's a court in America that's going to say that a man can choose whether she has an abortion or not.
All right, Mercedes Colwin, Nicole DeBoard, thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
This is a Fox News alert taking a look at some violent video once again. These riots had been tamed down earlier today. Well, new violence now breaking out in Paris, France. That video there, unedited, being fed into us apparently at Sorbonne University. The riots breaking out, police having to whip out the tear gas and those massive water cannons. We're going to stay on top of that story out of Paris, France. This has been a Fox News alert.
It's time for the lending industry to change. That's why eLoan offers mortgage, home equity, and auto loans with no lender fees and treats you fairly. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
Reports have just come in. More details to come on this breaking story.
If you have indoor or outdoor allergies, ask your doctor about something different. Singulair. While many allergy medicines block histamine, Singulair works differently by blocking leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. And Singulair is approved to help relieve both indoor and outdoor allergy symptoms for a full 24 hours. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Singulair, a different way to treat indoor and outdoor allergies.
Get all the college hoops you can handle with ESPN Full Court, available on Dish Network season ticket. Up to 30 games per week. Top conferences, critical matchups you won't get without ESPN Full Court. Hoops heaven from the people who live and breathe college basketball. ESPN Full Court, available on Dish Network season ticket. $75. To order, call 1-877-DISH-PPV or log on to dishnetwork.com/basketball.
This time last year, Jack was diagnosed with high cholesterol, which meant he could develop heart disease. And he didn't know other factors could increase his risk even more. He felt okay. He really thought he was fine. He wasn't. But instead of doing nothing, he got the facts. Jack found over time, cholesterol can turn a healthy artery into a clogged artery. So, as remarkable as the heart is, Jack needed information on how to help protect it. He got the My Heart Now kit. It's yours free by visiting myheartkit.com or calling 1-866-760-9500. Like Jack, you'll learn about high cholesterol and other risk factors. You'll also receive information about a proven treatment that can lower cholesterol to help reduce your risk. Now, Jack's biggest concern is, wait till his wife sees the mess in the kitchen. Take care of your heart. Call 1-866-760-9500 for your free My Heart Now kit.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you could use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit. No one can do what Countrywide can. Call now and see if you qualify.
Call 1-800-641-7317.
On tape, two bandits using machine guns in a terrifying supermarket stick-up in Massachusetts. Take a look at this. Now the hunt is on for these two guys in the video. They knocked off the store in northern Massachusetts. They ordered everyone to the ground. Then they ransacked the safe. It all took less than a minute. Police say the guns are similar to military M16s, making these suspects very armed and very dangerous. A high-speed pursuit in Southern California ending in a fatal shootout. Police say the suspect carjacked a Jeep, then led them on a chase, reaching speeds of more than 100 miles an hour. The suspect then ditched the Jeep and stole a furniture delivery truck. The truck eventually hit a spike strip, blowing out the tires. Police say the suspect then fired a shot, and then they returned fire. They say they found him dead in the truck's cab, though it isn't clear if they killed him or if he committed suicide. In one New Jersey neighborhood, a new effort to crack down on crime using cameras and an internet connection. The police department is giving people access to a website. It provides panoramic views of their block. It also allows them to immediately send complaints to cops. But could this be a case of Big Brother gone too far? Rena Ninan with the story in our New York newsroom. Hi, Rena.
Hi, Julie. Well, what they've done is in East Orange is install cameras in 2 areas which have had a long-running history of criminal activity. Police control and manipulate these cameras and can zoom in on specific areas as far as 4 miles away. And just a few weeks from now, people who live in this community will be able to log on to a special website. They'll be able to click onto pictures that show their street corners and their neighborhood block. They can then use their home computers to report to police exactly where there might be suspicious or criminal activity. The website will then alert the police department about the tip. Police say they've noticed a significant decline in their crime rates. Most of the residents are pleased with the program.
It's for the better, because it's the only way, you're going to find out who's doing right and who's doing wrong. Therefore, they can determine who to bother and who not to bother.
And another device being introduced, a gunshot detector, a device that detects gunshots within 3 to 4 seconds of being fired. Police are alerted. They can then use cameras to zero in.
We also wanted to make sure that in the event there is a gunshot and someone is shot, that we can identify it, respond to it, and perhaps save a life by getting there a lot quicker.
Critics have this to say: we share a common interest in reducing crime. Do you really want people who are not even sworn law enforcement officers to be able to track what you're doing, follow you as you go about your business, know your license plate number, as perhaps even know where you live? The East Orange Police Department says they've already received calls from other states about the program. They emphasize while the technology is a great tool, you have to tailor it to fit the needs of your community. Julie?
All right, Rena Ninan, thank you. Remember the show dog who bolted from its crate, disappearing in the marshlands near JFK International Airport? Well, its owner's saying they've got some promising news. Could that be Vivi they've found? We're going to have details coming up.
What happens if your latest product goes global in a single bound? What happens when new technology overcomes carelessness? What happens if reducing stress reduces accidents too? What happens if your business model changes every 4 hours? At Zurich, we consider all sorts of possibilities. It's why for nearly 100 years we've provided relevant, secure insurance solutions for a changing world. Zurich, because change happens.
The all-new Hyundai Azera. It may be the most car for the money ever. With 8 airbags, a 263 horsepower V6, and more interior space than a BMW 760i, you could say it breaks the price barrier. The all-new 2006 Azera. It's a Hyundai like you've never seen before.
Why do I have to go through so many steps to test my blood sugar?
Why do I have to fumble with all those tiny strips every time I test?
With the 10-test disc and no coding required, the Breathe Meter from Bayer makes the process of testing your blood much easier. It's the one-step way to eliminate the struggle with small individual test strips, so there are no hassles, no fumbling with tiny strips, and no more questions.
Why didn't anyone think of this before?
Easy accuracy. Answered by Bayer.
Have the lawn the whole neighborhood wants to play on. Lowe's now has the largest selection of John Deere mowers of any national retailer, backed by in-home John Deere service. Lowe's, let's build something together.
Pet lovers would call this your happy pet block. In Florida, a happy ending in the case of the dog-napped Puggle. If you're wondering, that's a beagle and a pug. The dog caper returning the pup exactly 1 week after he was stolen. The little guy suffering from a case of the sniffles, but we're told he's expected to make a full recovery. Sarah Baldwin, who helped pilfer the 10-month-old pup, was charged with possession of stolen property. Police are still looking for the guy who actually walked out with the dog. And the owners of that missing show dog who bolted from her crate at New York's JFK Airport, well, they say they're hot on the Whippets trail. Its owner saying they got a call. The dog was actually seen at a park in Queens, New York. The family has brought in scent tracking hounds. They are on this case. They're handing out flyers. They've even brought in a pet detective to track down their dog who's been on the run since February 15th. Could it be Vivi, the show dog? At last check, there was a $5,000 reward. And that's going to do it for me. That's it for the Big Story Weekend. I'm Julie Banderas. Stay tuned, though. A powerful lineup. Up next, the Beltway Boys, followed by Fox News Watch. And don't forget the Fox Report with Trace Gallagher at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on the most powerful name in news, Fox.